I thought I had seen jumbles before. I thought green was just a color, too many leaves, the smell of wet soil, the sound of hidden animals. I thought nature was noise, repetition, instinct. Until the day I set foot on Eden 6 and understood that a jumble can be a sentence. The landing was clean, almost elegant. The kind of descent that makes the crew smile for 2 seconds and believe everything will be fine. The ship touched down in a clearing far too open to be natural, as if someone had prepared that place for us in advance. But we laughed it off, because laughter is what humanity does when it doesn't want to admit it's afraid. The air had weight. It wasn't just the humidity. It was a delicate, constant pressure, as if the planet were pressing against you at all times. The leaves had a dull sheen, as though coated with a thin layer of metallic resin. The soil was black and soft, sinking like warm ash beneath our boots. And strangely enough, the first thing that bothered me was an absence. There was no wind. The canopy was so high it felt like another sky, and yet everything was still. Leaves frozen in place. Vines hanging like theater ropes. A green world paused, waiting for the first line to be spoken. We weren't on Eden 6 for adventure. We were there under contract, the kind of contract that turns planets into reports, forests into property, life into high-value biological material. The mission had a pretty name: Green Art Program, Controlled Cataloging and Extraction. But beneath the marketing, the truth was simple: we needed resources. Earth and the nearby colonies were drained of everything. Medicines, organic fibers, rare compounds. And Eden 6 was a living advertisement, an entire planet swallowed by jumble, with absurd biodiversity and an ocean of substances no human industry could synthesize. There were 12 of us. We weren't soldiers, at least not officially. We were explorers, biologists, engineers, survival specialists, and a standard security team. The kind of security meant to scare animals and reassure shareholders that everything was under control. My role was to record and map. I was the one who turned fear into coordinates, sound into data, death into statistics. A technical narrator. A man used to staring at the unknown and pretending it was just work. The first day was deceptively calm. We set up the module at the edge of the clearing. Raised antennas. Ran scans. Small drones listed above the treetops and returned with images that were beautiful and useless, grain over grain, like an ocean without a horizon. Sensors detected life in every direction. Too much life. The density was so high the algorithm struggled, as if every square meter was breathing. The fauna felt wrong. Not in appearance, but in behavior. Creatures watched us from between the trucks but didn't flee. Didn't attack. They kept an exact distance, as if following a rule. Smaller ones moved too fast for the cameras to properly capture, like liquid shadows. And at night, when our flashlights cut through the dark, we saw eyes, not a single pair, but dozens, glowing at the same height, arranged in a perfect line at the edge of the clearing. It wasn't hunting. It was surveillance. The next morning we followed protocol. Teams divided into 3 groups: short routes, surface collection only, return before sunset. Clean. Measured. I went with Group B, 2 biologists and 1 security officer, through a natural corridor of trees so thick it felt like the planet had bones. The jumble smelled too alive. As if the air itself had just been cut open. The sounds were muted, as though someone had draped a cloth over the world. In some places, the silence was so complete I could hear blood rushing in my ears. Then, out of nowhere, a snap, not a branch, but something calculated. A sound that felt like a signal. A marker. We stopped. The biologists found a blue foam disc, pulsing like a heart. I recorded it. The security officer scanned the undergrowth and gripped his weapon too tightly. I saw the fear in the motion, the kind of fear the body admits before the mind does. That's when we found the first proof we weren't alone. A totem. Made of bones, fibers, and black stone, driven into the ground like a spear. It wasn't decorative art. It was a warning. The symbol carved into it resembled a broken spiral, like a claw in motion. And around it, in the soft soil, were tracks, not from any common animal. They were organized tracks, patterned, and formation. In that moment, the jumble seemed to change temperature. Not real cold. A sensation of being surrounded by attention. As if 1,000 invisible things had decided to look at us at once. The security officer raised the communicator and called the base. No response. The interference wasn't total. It was selective. As if someone knew exactly which frequencies to cut. The radio crackled, returning our own voices distorted, as if the planet itself were mocking our sound. We returned faster than we should have. Not running. Not yet. But disciplined, tense, like people trying not to provoke what they don't understand. When we reached the clearing, the module was intact, lights on. The team greeted us with forced relief. And then I saw the thing that sealed the mission's fate. At the edge of the clearing, where the night before there had only been eyes, there was now a gift. A box. It wasn't ours. It wasn't human metal. It was made of rigid fibers, woven with a precision impossible for primitive tribes, bound with a resin that looked like glass. On top was the same broken spiral symbol. The lead biologist reached out, hesitated, and still opened it. Inside was exactly what we had come for, a rare plant sample, intact, fresh, perfectly cut. And with it, something far worse. A small human object. A piece of uniform. With dried blood along the edge. The kind of blood that had been exposed to air for far too long to be an accident. Groupie was still out there. And Eden 6 had just told us, without words, what we were in that place. Not explorers. Not scientists. Prey. That night, no one truly slept. The module was lit too brightly, as if light itself were a kind of talisman. The external cameras streamed static images of the motionless jumble, but we all knew it was a lie. The jumble wasn't still. It had simply chosen not to move while it watched. The silence was so heavy that every breath felt like a mistake. The commander tried to maintain normalcy. A brief meeting. Containment protocols. Likely an intelligent species of low technological level, he said, using words meant more to reassure than to explain. But no one truly believed him. Not after the box. Not after the uniform. The worst part wasn't the implied violence. It was the organization. Whoever was out there knew exactly what to show, when to show it, and to whom. That wasn't an impulsive warning. It was a carefully constructed message. You entered. We saw you. Now you know we can enter too. The sensors began to fail in sequence. Not chaotically, but in waves. First long range. Then motion. Finally biological. Each failure came with a lull, almost imperceptible hum that made our teeth vibrate. The technicians called it environmental interference. I called it psychological pressure. Eden 6 wasn't attacking us. Eden 6 was pushing us. Shortly after midnight, we heard the first real sound coming from the forest. Not an animal. Not leaves. A deep, rhythmic chant. It had no human melody, but it had intention. It was collective, synchronized, repeated at exact intervals. A ritual. The cameras caught movement at the edge of the clearing. Tall silhouettes, covered in thick, dark fur, blending into the trunks. They weren't beasts. They walked upright. They carried long spears made of bone reinforced with the same glass-like material as the box. Their eyes reflected the light in yellow and green tones, like predators that had learned to weaponize the dark. But what froze everyone's blood wasn't their appearance. It was their behavior. They didn't approach. They didn't attack. They simply positioned themselves. They formed an incomplete circle around the clearing, deliberately leaving a single corridor open, exactly in the direction Group A had taken. The message was cruel and brilliant at the same time. You may leave. But only that way. The commander ordered no one to cross the perimeter. He sent drones. The drones didn't return. He sent light signals. Nothing answered. Every human attempt at control seemed to make the jumble more comfortable in its superiority. At dawn, we found something new. Bodies. Not from Group A. Not yet. Large animals, similar to six-limbed felines, were piled near the edge of the clearing. Killed with surgical precision. Throats cut. No meat removed. No bite marks. Just dead, and left there. It was a demonstration of power. These predators were the top of the local food chain. And they had been dispatched with ease. Not for food. For example, the biologists stopped pretending scientific neutrality at that moment. One of them vomited. Another began to cry silently. The security officer requested authorization to use heavy weapons. The commander denied it. To attack would be to declare war. But not attacking meant accepting that we were already inside one. I kept recording everything, even with trembling hands. Because part of me still believes that documenting was a form of control. A pathetic illusion, but a necessary one. If I could name the horror, maybe it would be smaller. That's when we received the second message. Not in the form of an object. In the form of action. One of the internal cameras captured something impossible. For 3 seconds, a figure was inside the module. Tall. Covered in lighter fur, almost silvery. The face wasn't grotesque, but deeply alien, large eyes, focused, far too intelligent to be called primitive. The figure didn't touch anything. It simply looked directly into the camera. And then it vanished. No breach. No sound. No trace. When we reviewed the footage frame by frame, we noticed a detail no one wanted to say out loud. The entity had appeared exactly between 2 frames, as if the space between moments was something they bent. In that moment, I understood something that changed everything. We were not exploring Eden 6. We had been temporarily accepted into the territory of a civilization that didn't need to destroy us to defeat us. They were steadying us the way one steadies a chemical reaction, controlling variables, testing limits, observing responses. And Group A, wherever they were, was no longer a team. They were part of the experiment. When the sun rose above the canopy, the ritual chant stopped all at once, as if someone had flipped an invisible switch. The jumble made noise again. Insects. Leaves. Life. But now we knew the most terrifying truth of all. Silence was an absence. It was permission. On the 3rd day, we lost track of time. The clock still worked, the chronometers marked the hours with precision, but none of it mattered anymore. Eden 6 did not follow the same rhythm as the human mind. The day felt too short. The night, far too long. The natural cycle refused to align with expectation, as if the planet were deliberately out of sync with us. The commander decided to send a reconnaissance team through the corridor that had been left open. Not to rescue Group A, that word was already beginning to sound naive, but to confirm whether it was truly a rout or merely a provocation. I went with them. Not out of courage, but because someone needed to record what was about to happen. And deep down, because I already knew that staying inside the module did not make us any safer. We entered the jumble in tight formation. Weapons active. Portable sensors struggling to compensate for the failures of the central system. The vegetation was denser than it appeared in aerial scans. Trunks as wide as pillars, exposed roots forming natural labyrinths, thick leaves blocking the light like living ceilings. The jumble did not feel chaotic. It felt designed. We advanced only a few meters per minute. Not because of physical difficulty, but because of a constant sense of being watched. It was like walking through an invisible amphitheater, knowing every step was observed by unblinking eyes. No large animals approached. No heavy sounds. Only insects, too small to be threats, too numerous to ignore. They moved in strange patterns, always clearing space ahead of us, as if someone were sweeping the path seconds before our arrival. After about an hour, we found the first human sign. A helmet. It belonged to Group Pave, crushed, cracked along the side, but without blood. No signs of struggle. It had simply been placed there, resting on a root, perfectly visible. A marker. Further ahead, a boot. Then a communicator split cleanly in half, placed on a smooth stone, almost like an offering. They were guiding us. The radio crackled for the first time since we left the module. Not a clear transmission, but fragments. Distorted human voices overlapping each other, repeating words that made no sense together. Names. Impossible coordinates. Muffled laughter. Screams abruptly cut off. The technician tried to shut it down. He couldn't. The sound stopped on its own. Shortly after, we reached a smaller clearing, far too circular to be natural. At its center stood simple structures made of living wood and bone, intertwined as if the jumble itself had been convinced to take shape. Hanging there were the remains of Group A. Not whole bodies. Parts. No crude mutilation. Nothing resembling uncontrolled torture. Everything clean. Separated. Organized. Each piece arranged according to a logic beyond our understanding. This was not punishment. It was communication. The commander ordered an immediate retreat. But before we could pull back, we heard the sound again. The deep chant. Closer now. Louder. It came not from a single direction, but from everywhere at once. Silhouettes emerged between the trees, now far more numerous. Tall. Fur-covered. Armed. But they did not attack. From the center of the clearing, a different figure stepped forward. It was larger. Its fur lighter. Its eyes reflected the light with a fixed, calculating shine. It wore ornaments made of bone and the same glass-like material we had seen before, now shaped into geometric symbols. It steadied us for several long seconds. Then, with a slow gesture, it pointed toward the human remains. Then it pointed at us. The meaning was immediate and terrifying. You have seen the. Now you understand. Choose. The ground trembled lightly beneath our feet. Not like an earthquake, but like a warning. Trees creaked. Leaves rustled in perfect synchrony. The entire jumble seemed to breathe as one. We retreated without turning our backs. No shots were fired. No weapons were raised against us. Still, I had never felt so close to death. When we finally reached the module, the perimeter had changed. Tighter. Darker. The jumble had advanced several meters while we were gone. That night, no one pretended things were normal. The commander did not speak of missions. The scientists did not speak of studies. The soldiers did not speak of combat. Because all of us understood the same truth. Eden 6 was not a wild planet with hostile intelligent life. It was a civilization. And we had failed first contact in the worst way possible, by believing we were the only ones allowed to decide the rules. On the fourth day, Eden 6 decided to end the phase of observation. There was no announcement. No signs in the sky. No more ritual chants. The jumble simply changed its behavior. And we felt it before we understood it. The module woke up surrounded. During the night, while we slept in short, restless shifts, the vegetation advanced. Not as natural growth, but as coordinated displacement. Trees had appeared where open space once existed. Thick roots pierced the middle ground of the base like fingers entering flesh. The defensive perimeter was unrecognizable. We were not attacked. We were swallowed. The internal sensors still worked, but now they only confirmed the obvious: we were trapped inside something alive. The commander attempted to request orbital evacuation. No response. The mothership remained in orbit, but every channel was too silent to be simple interference. It was deliberate isolation. Shortly after, the first psychological effects began to spread. One soldier swore he heard his own name coming from the forest. Another began to see movement at the edge of his vision, tall figures that vanished whenever he turned his head. A biologist collapsed after insisting the trees were leaning in to listen to her breathing. These were not individual hallucinations. They were patterns. The jumble did not attack the body. It pressed the mind. It explored guilt, fear, expectation. Each person seemed to be targeted differently, as if Eden 6 were testing which stimuli broke each type of human fastest. In the middle of the afternoon, we received definitive proof. An opening formed in the vegetation north of the module. It was not forced open. The plants simply parted, creating a wide, perfectly defined corridor, an invitation impossible to ignore. On the ground, arranged in a line, were objects from Group A. One by one. Helmet. Identification plate. Unloaded weapon. Fragments of uniform. At the end of the corridor, visible even from a distance, stood something larger. A structure. The commander gathered everyone. For the first time since our descent, he did not use technical terms or protocols. He spoke like a cornered human being. They want something. The discussion was brief and pointless. Not going mid waiting until the jumble decided for us. Going mid accepting their game. We went. The corridor led us to a space that could only be described as a ceremonial plaza. The ground was formed of interwoven roots, solid as stone. Around it, massive trunks served as natural columns. At the center, an organic elevation shaped over generations. And there they were. Dozens. Perhaps hundreds. The jumble beings, now clearly an organized intelligent species, occupied the edges of the space in tiers, like a living amphitheater. There was no explicit aggression. No weapons aimed at us. There was expectation. At the top of the elevation, the light-furred figure appeared again. The same fixed gaze. The same confident posture of one who had never needed to prove superiority. It raised an object. I recognized it immediately. It was Group A's recorder. The device was activated. We heard no screams. We saw no torture. What emerged was far worse: fragmented recordings, human voices narrating their own mistakes, their decisions, their failures. Confessions made not under pain, but under forced understanding. They had been broken, by logic. The figure then pointed at us. Then at the jumble around us. Then touched its own chest. The message was far too clear to ignore. You entered that. You take that. You observed that. We respond. The commander stepped forward, attempting to communicate peace, cooperation, withdrawal. Human words thrown against something that did not need them. The response was simple. The ground beneath our feet pulsed. The roots shifted. The entire jumble reacted as a single organism. And in that instant, I understood the truth no one wanted to accept. Eden 6 was not expelling us. It was judging us. And the verdict had not yet been decided. Eden 6's sentence did not come in words. It came in choices. After the ceremony, we were not attacked. We were escorted back to the module through the same corridor of roots that had opened for us. The jumble beings kept their distance, but now there was no doubt, every step we took was being followed. Not by individual eyes, but by something greater. A distributed consciousness. The commander believed, or pretended to believe, that there was still room for negotiation. He spoke of strategic withdrawal, of compensations, of non-interference protocols. But those words already sounded too old for that place. Eden 6 did not operate by treaties. It operated by balance. The next morning, the jumble presented its answer. The corridor leading out of the territory appeared again, wide, clear, unmistakable. A path of exit. Beside it, another path began to form, narrower, darker, plunging deep into the dense forest. Two paths. One choice. On the ground, between them, lay something that froze us in place. Bodies. The members of Group B were there. Whole. No visible mutilations. No signs of torture. They looked asleep. Except for one impossible detail, each of them had symbols carved into their skin, made from that same glass-like material. Geometric markings that resembled maps, constellations, flow patterns. They were not wounds. They were records. The biologists understood first. Those humans had been used as an interface, as a translation medium between two forms of intelligence. Eden-6 had not killed them. It had turned them into living archives, and then shut them down, like one concludes an experiment. The message was brutally clear. You may leave now, or you may stay, and pay the full price. The commander ordered immediate evacuation. Some soldiers cried. Others gave silent thanks. I stood staring at the second path, feeling something close to shame. Because part of me knew this was not merely an expulsion. It was a warning for the future. As we dismantled the module in haste, the jumble watched in respectful silence. No provocation. No threat. Like a predator that has already won and no longer needs to prove anything. Before we boarded, the light-furred figure appeared one last time at the edge of the clearing. It did not approach. It did not gesture. It simply observed our retreat. And in that instant, something happened inside my mind. Not a voice. Not an image. A raw understanding, direct, impossible to fully translate into human language. Earth has done this before, You also believed yourselves owners. You also called it exploration. You also called it progress. And I understood then, Eden-6 did not hate us. It recognized us. When the ship broke through the atmosphere and the planet fell behind us, no one celebrated. There was no sense of victory, no true relief. Only a shared weight, the weight of knowing we had touched something ancient, conscious, and profoundly patient. In the official reports, Eden-6 was classified as a hostile world, highly developed native intelligence, contact suspended due to extreme risk. That was the lie we told in order to move on. The truth is different. Eden-6 is not hostile. It has simply decided that humanity is not yet worthy to remain. And when one day we return, because we know we will, it will not be as explorers. It will be as defendants. The return did not taste like survival. It tasted like postponement. During the journey back, no one spoke about Eden-6. Reports were filled out mechanically, recordings reviewed without comment, the deaths of group logged as mission losses. Official language exists for this reason, to force the incomprehensible into something that fits inside a spreadsheet. But at night, when the compartment lights dimmed and the ship's silence became absolute, it was clear that no one truly slept. Because we all dreamed of the jumble. We dreamed of eyes reflecting in the dark. Of paths opening on their own. Of the constant sensation of being evaluated, not as individuals, but as a species. When we reached human-controlled space, we were welcomed like survivors of unnatural disaster. There were speeches, medals, carefully edited interviews. The official narrative needed to be fast, failed contact. Hostile environment. Strategic withdrawal. The world needed to believe it was still in control. But there was one detail that could not be fully hidden. The data. The symbols carved into the bodies of Group A had been scanned before departure. And even after their deaths, the patterns remained active. They shifted slowly. Reorganized themselves. As if they were still receiving information from somewhere. From Eden-6. The bolder scientists began to suspect the unthinkable. The symbols were not only records of what Eden-6 had learned about us. They were also a way to keep the connection open. Like a door left slightly ajar. Months later, small events began occurring on other frontier worlds. Unexplained sensor failures. Drones that simply powered down upon entering certain regions. Colonists reporting strange patterns in vegetation, coordinated behavior among local fauna, silences that felt attentive. Nothing that justified alarm. Nothing that could officially be linked to Eden-6. But I knew. Because sometimes, when I closed my eyes, I felt that pressure in my mind again. That unsettling certainty that we were never truly alone, even when we believed we were. Eden 6 did not expel us out of fear. It did not attack us out of hatred. It pushed us away because we were still too predictable, too violent, too convinced of our own right to take. They saw us the way we have seen so many worlds before, something to be used, cataloged, exploited. And they chose to interrupt the cycle before it was too late. Today, when I see new missions being planned, new planets marked on star charts with provisional names, I feel a weight I cannot share with anyone. Because I know the real question will never be if we return to Eden 6. It will be when. And next time, there will be no corridors opened by permission. No subtle messages. No warnings. Because the first visit was not a ward. It was a hearing. And we failed. Humanity continues to explore the universe as if it were an inheritance without heirs, without witnesses, without consequences. But somewhere, beneath an endless canopy of living, conscious trees, a civilization watches in silence. Waiting. Not for our return, but for the moment we finally understand that not every planet exists to be conquered. Some exist to remind us of who we truly are.